Welcome back to the Delaware Way. It is springtime, and that means kids are going out for spring and summer sports, and that means more injuries. So what can you do? What should you look out for? Here to talk about that is Dr. Michael Kraft, sports medicine at Christiana Care Health System. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about, I guess we should break it up into a couple of age groups. There's like the 6 to 12 age group, and then there's the teenagers. Are the injuries different in those two groups?
Injury patterns can be a little bit different in those two groups. We see a lot of the same injuries in respect, but the younger you are, the more growth plates you have open, so the more susceptible you are to injuring those growth plates. Growth plates work in a couple different ways. One is they can work as a pop-off valve, so it doesn't rupture the tendon. So we can see that all the way up to a female up until she's 20 in the hips. But in younger kids, they'll come in with sometimes a little bit more growth plate, and then as they get older and the growth plates start to close, we'll see more tendon injuries in the adolescents. And
with teenagers, there's a lot of breaks, is that it?
You can see a little bit more breaks in teenagers, mainly because of the force. So you need to have enough force in order to break the bone, and the more you weigh, the harder you hit, the faster you run, the higher likelihood you could have a break.
And it's not just sports, it's not just organized sports. I mean, it's skateboarding, it's biking, it's going out and playing on the playground. As a matter of fact, I would think you might see more injuries from that than the organized sports.
That's actually a good point, and we do. So, the people who are biking, you have to make sure that you have your helmets on and they're fastened correctly, and you're wearing your knee pads and your elbow pads if you're riding a skateboard. But we see a lot more injuries from I guess recreational sports, because it's still a sport rather than organized sports.
Is there a proper way to fall?
If you can learn to disperse the energy from when you're falling, instead of falling on an outstretched hand, maybe falling on a forearm and then rolling, so just learning how to disperse that energy so it's not one bone isn't taking the impact.
There's been so much attention on concussions recently. There's a movie out with Will Smith, it's in the news constantly, there's been NFL lawsuits. And I know that has trickled down to youth sports as well. Has it diminished? Have you seen less concussions because of that, because of the awareness?
So, I think we've seen more concussions because of the awareness. As people begin to recognize, or we see at least evaluations for concussions that might not have been a concussion. A lot of times we'll see someone who hits their head, and just because you hit your head doesn't necessarily mean you have a concussion, but people are so aware of the symptoms that they're bringing them to the doctor, or they're bringing them to their trainers a lot sooner, and then they're getting referred to us.
There's so much focus on football. But it's not just football, it's all sports, and women's sports too.
Absolutely, it's a whole gamut. It doesn't necessarily have to be you get hit in the head, it could be a rotational force. So, you could get hit in a car and then the car would spin. Even though you didn't hit your head, that spinning force can create a concussion. So there's a lot of different ways to get a concussion, but I think football has gotten not necessarily a bad rap because of it, but most notable because of all the news and the movies that have come out. But the NFL has done a great job at making it, doing their part in terms of their research and making it aware.
And I know they have the Heads Up program for youth football, but I was looking at a list recently, and up high on the list for concussions was cheerleading and field hockey.
Yeah, so again, with cheerleading, when you have your flyers, or the people who go up in the air, when they're coming down, they might hit their head, they might get jarred really hard, and there's fluid around the brain that can move it back and forth, and that's enough. You don't necessarily, again, you don't have to hit it. It can just be rotational, or the head going back and forth.
So is there enough awareness in the other sports? I mean, everybody's talking about football. Are you seeing it?
We are. The awareness is becoming more and more every day, and football was kind of scrutinized for a long time, but it's definitely starting to disperse throughout the other sports, which is nice.
As we wrap it up, just one tip for parents as they send their kids out: just helmets and proper safety gear?
Yeah, depending on their age, but yeah, helmets, make sure they're the appropriate helmet. So the consumer, it's a CPSP, but look for that sticker to make sure that that's a proper helmet, and that the chin straps are always fastened, and elbow pads, knee pads, that'll always help.
Great. Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.
No problem.
Dr. Michael Kraft with sports medicine at Christiana Care Health System. When we come back, we're going to go from youth to seniors and talk about the Delaware Senior Olympics when Delaware Way continues.